WXII presents the Volunteer Connection. For more information in High Point, call 883-6171. The difference is you. Volunteer. WXII, the one to watch. And now, Frank Buckley, Margaret Johnson, Chris Runge with weather, and Dave Goren with sports. This is Newswatch 12 at 6.
Good evening. President Bush went on television in Iraq today. His videotaped message to the Iraqi people put the blame for the Gulf crisis on Saddam Hussein. Mr. Bush also warned the Iraqi people that Hussein may be leading them right into a war.
Of your leadership, it put Iraq at odds with the world community. But while those actions have brought us to the brink of conflict, war is not inevitable. It is still possible to bring this crisis to a peaceful end.
Iraqi leaders were quick to respond to the president's address. They called it full of lies and contradictions. They also accused President Bush of trying to become the dictator of the world.
The United Nations Security Council this morning issued another condemnation of Iraqi actions. The resolution strongly condemns the Iraqi raids on 3 Western embassies Friday. Further sanctions are likely, and officials are not ruling out an aerial blockade. The U.S. ambassador says the raids illustrate why harsher measures are necessary.
These diplomats are there, in part at least, to protect the now incarcerated, harassed, and starved citizens of their own states. By singling out diplomatic missions for attack, Iraq has, in a special way, confirmed its preference for the instruments of force over the paths of diplomacy and negotiation.
Belgium's foreign minister says the European community will also take action against Iraqi diplomatic missions in Europe because of the raids.
About 40 Iraqi diplomats and civilians kicked out of France are on their way home tonight. French President Mitterrand ordered these expulsions in retaliation for Iraq's raid on the French embassy in Kuwait. Iraq now says it will take similar actions against French diplomats. Because of this latest development, France is sending an additional 4,000 troops to the Gulf to join in the fight. Thousands of refugees trapped in the hot Jordanian desert because of the Gulf crisis are finally on their way home. About 2,000 Sri Lankans left the desert camp by bus convoy. From there, they boarded a passenger ship for the 10-day trip home. Some of the refugees had spent as long as 3 weeks in the camps. A UN group is paying for their trip home, which costs over $750,000. Hundreds of Kuwaitis are fleeing their homeland. This after Iraq opened a border crossing into Saudi Arabia. Baghdad is not saying why it is allowing the people to leave. But one person who made the journey said he thought Iraq wanted them to leave so troops could steal their homes. Another said food and medical supplies have become so scarce, he had no choice but to leave. So far, no Westerners, only Kuwaitis, have been crossing the border.
The events in the Middle East have impact here in North Carolina. Many of our soldiers have been deployed, and as Roy Neal reports, Tar Heel residents are trying to pitch in here at home.
They arrived Thursday in Raleigh. Almost 300 hostages, women and children, freed, glad to be back, suffering jet lag and still a little confused by what's going on in Kuwait and Iraq. Channel 12 was there with live coverage, and the Carolina welcome mat was clearly in place. The freed hostages seemed to appreciate the hospitality that underscored the nightmare of the last few weeks.
We're home safe and sound. That's the most important thing.
Earlier this week in Winston-Salem, we had a sample of the people in the triad doing what little they could to help. At the Rollins-Burdick Hunter Insurance Company, they declared a patriotic day and collected personal items to make up care packages for the 44th Medical Division from Fort Bragg, items that are hard to find in Saudi Arabia. In Greensboro, on campus at North Carolina A&T, students from Kuwait held a petition drive, got nearly 200 signatures, urging the withdrawal of Iraqi troops. They hope the publicity will generate more support from the American public. But from all reports, it would seem that the American public already strongly supports the actions taken by the president in this crisis. This was quite clear in the enthusiastic reaction reported after Mr. Bush addressed a joint meeting of Congress Tuesday night.
Of course our hearts
go out to the hostages and to their families, but our policy cannot change, and it will not change. America and the world will not be blackmailed by this ruthless policy.
Here in North Carolina, we seem to reflect the national will to act in the Persian Gulf crisis, feeling somewhat inadequate. There's so little we can do to help. Roy Neal, Newswatch 12 in Winston-Salem.
In other news, the retrial of accused murderer Darrell Hunt is set to get underway tomorrow. Hunt was convicted of killing 25-year-old newspaper copy editor Deborah Sykes in 1984, but the state Supreme Court overturned that conviction last year. The trial has been moved out of Forsyth County to Catawba County because of the publicity generated by the controversial case. The trial is expected to last a couple of weeks.
Striking Greyhound bus drivers say they won't be on the street much longer. This group of strikers in Winston-Salem has been out of work for 6 months, and they have some choice words for the drivers Greyhound hired to replace them. But the strikers say Greyhound will have to settle by early October or face bankruptcy. They say working a 70-hour week in order to make a living was tough, but being out of work this long is even tougher.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely affecting us financially, all of us. And we're all realizing that. But we're out here for a good cause. We're not out here for the money. We're out here to see a better company.
Greyhound officials say the strike hasn't affected the amount of business going through the Winston-Salem station. Neighbors working together in Greensboro or teaming up with a church group, they're building an entire block of affordable homes for deserving families. Anthony Wilson tells us they're using a program called Habitat for Humanity to make a difference.
They're gathering here to celebrate how far they've come by faith. Faith and cooperation which made the construction of these homes possible with help from Habitat for Humanity. The Greensboro JCs provided financial support, but many volunteer hands and hearts did the actual work.
I'm retired now, always looking for something to do, so I don't mind taking one Saturday of the month and work for Habitat. I was inspired by President Carter. And I know one time I looked at television, I saw him up on top of a house, just nailing away.
That spirit got Margaret Ann Robertson involved, helping to build other people's homes. Today she has her own Habitat home and a nicer environment for her children.
It's a whole lot better. It's not overcrowded, and I like the neighborhood. It's really nice and quiet. The one I used to live at was just on a busy highway right there on Way Street, and I just love it over here. I really do.
Potential homeowners must be employed and willing to provide sweat equity for their home and those of others. They must also be
families with at least 2 children, 16 and under, because we want young children to have a chance to grow up in the home. And we want to help people who are in substandard or overcrowded housing to be able to move out of that into decent housing.
And the Habitat program is designed to pay for itself. By the time this house is finished, money for it and the other 5 houses on this block will be recycled to pay for still other homes in this city and throughout the world. Habitat officials estimate that by the year 2050, the program will be completely self-sustaining. Anthony Wilson, Newswatch 12, Greensboro.
Also this weekend, thousands of Triad residents are getting a taste of a faraway culture. The 8th annual Greek Festival is going on in Greensboro this weekend. Some put on their dancing shoes and step to Greek music. Others enjoy the fantastic food and shop for souvenirs. Organizers say nearly 10,000 people attend the annual event. Part of the proceeds go to charity.
Didn't you go to one of those last year?
Sure did. It's fantastic. A lot of great food.
Yeah?
Nice folks, the whole bit.
Great time.
Yeah. When we come back, Chris will be up with weather. He says you may have to get those blankets out next week.
Plus, we'll take you to a hot air balloon festival.
When you have a name like A Cleaner World, it's hard not to be concerned about the environment. That's why we cover your garments in recycled plastic. It's why the dry cleaning solutions we use are continually reprocessed. And it's why we reuse your hangers. In fact, for every hanger you return to us, we'll donate a penny to the Piedmont Horizons Tree Project. At A Cleaner World, we care about the environment just like you do. After all, we've got quite a name to live up to.
Have you driven a Ford?
We just bought over 40 new Escorts for our utility locate service. We need dependable cars, and we found the Escort to be that way. 2 or 3 of our employees were so impressed with the Ford Escort, they were looking at them for their personal needs. I'd recommend the Ford Escort for other fleet buyers for the fuel economy, dependability, roominess, and handling.
And now get 4-8 financing or $500 cash back at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Ford Escorts are very dependable.
There's a radical new movement at Arby's. Arby's French Dip. 2 new roast beef sandwiches made just for dipping in our delicious beefy hot au jus. And now for a limited time, get Arby's French Dip or Arby's French Dip and Swiss, topped with melted Swiss and sautéed onions, each with a bag of fries for just $1.99. Come into Arby's today for a French Dip combo for $1.99 and join the movement. Taste the Arby's difference.
I'm Nan Generelli of Newswatch 12. Dozens of chili cooks in the Piedmont are getting ready for the 1990 North Carolina Chili Championship. I'm with WTQR's Dale and Eloise. What's your award-winning recipe?
And to make award-winning chili, you need hamburger and onions and spices, lots and lots of spices, and a secret ingredient.
The North Carolina Chili Championship, Saturday, September 22nd at Tanglewood Park. For advance ticket information, call the March of Dimes.
You know, Dale, this is really good.
Quite a sight this weekend in the skies over Statesville. The 17th annual National Balloon Rally took to the sky. The rally features balloon rides along with bicycle races, also musical entertainment. A spokeswoman says as many as 100,000 spectators attend the annual event. And Chris is here to tell us how that weather was for those folks.
Another beautiful one.
Another sensational day, right? And it's going to continue for at least the next couple of days, and then we're going to cool off considerably. By tomorrow night, you'll be surprised at those low temperatures. We'll take a look at them in just a minute. Right now, we'll go to Hamilton Lakes Park in Greensboro for the current conditions. Right now, outside of the Weather Center, temperature stands at a cool 79 degrees. Dew point is at 53 as of 6 o'clock. Relative humidity, fairly low. It's at 41%. Winds out of the northwest at 12 miles per hour. Barometric pressure is currently rising as high pressure starts to build in. High temperatures across the region today. Winston-Salem up to 80 degrees, as well as Greensboro. High Point got up to 81. Overnight lows in the upper 50s. We'll start things off by taking a quick check of other temperatures around the region as of 6 o'clock. 79 degrees in the Gate City right now. 83 degrees in Charlotte. A cool 62 in Boone, 76 degrees in Asheville, and we warm up as we head down to the coast. 89 degrees at Wilmington right now, and it's currently 88 degrees on the Grand Strand at Myrtle Beach. A check of the satellite picture of the Mid-Atlantic states shows all of the sunshine over the Piedmont of North Carolina earlier today, and right now we've got some very high clouds that are starting to pop up over the eastern sections of North Carolina. As you head further to the north, watch this line of thunderstorms that moves across Maryland. Right now we have several severe thunderstorms warnings for parts of Maryland, and as you head into the Chesapeake Bay area, all of that continuing to ride off to the east and won't affect our weather picture. All clear across most of South Carolina at this hour. We'll expand things out even more and take a look at the national satellite picture. And again, the bulk of the precipitation in the east is in the northeast and up in New England with all of these clouds right here. And you can see we've got some low clouds across portions of Ohio and Indiana. Then as you head back into Texas, some big thunderstorm producing as much as 3 inches of rain per hour. All of this continues to move into parts of New Mexico and Arizona. And again, we have flood watches tonight over parts of Texas. But as you head into the southeast, really pretty much clear skies for North, South Carolina, and Virginia, and that's the way it's going to stay for at least the next couple of days. We'll head down to the surface, and you can see this front that's pushing through North Carolina right now. Behind it, some much cooler air. The cooler air that we got yesterday was because of this front. It's cleared the coast now, and ahead of it, we've got those scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly in parts of Florida. But the big news is this area of high pressure, which is starting to build in now from Canada, this is a very cool high, and by tomorrow, it'll set itself up right over the Ohio Valley. We'll be in that clockwise flow of wind. The front clears the coastline, and it's really going to be quite cool across the region. But the weather word tomorrow is going to be wonderful. We'll see lots of clear skies, lots of warm temperatures, again, as high pressure is in firm control of the weather across the east coast. Again, those clockwise flow of winds keeping us in that cool northwesterly wind direction. So again, tomorrow is going to be crisp and quite clear across the region. Take a look at high temperatures across the area tomorrow. We'll be in the 70s across much of North Carolina. High temperatures only in the 60s in the northern mountains. also in southwestern Virginia, and some cool 50s starting to filter in behind that front. But take a look at lows for tomorrow night. You can see that the 40s will be the rule for most of North Carolina. They'll see some 30-degree readings for southwestern Virginia and the mountains of North Carolina. It's really going to be quite cool for this time of year. And if we do get down to the lower 40s tomorrow night, we could be looking at a record. Here's the forecast now, the way we see it for tonight. Clear and cool with a low temperature down to about 52, mountains down to 45, winds out of the northwest at 10. Tomorrow, abundant sunshine, breezy and cooler, really a nice day with a high up to 72, mountains up to 64. For tomorrow night, clear and quite chilly, downright chilly with a low temperature down to 45. A conservative estimate would be 40 degrees for the mountains, but you could see some 30-degree readings as well. And then as you head into Tuesday, continued pleasant, sunny and cool with a high temperature of only 73 degrees. Here's the extended outlook now for the rest of the week, and you can see that we don't warm up much by the time Friday rolls around. 75 degrees with partly sunny skies. Partly sunny on Saturday with 77. And, well, you know what we're looking at? We're looking at the wrong days of the week there. We should start that off with about Tuesday, and we won't have thunderstorms on Sunday, so just ignore that. It's mainly just sunny skies for the rest of the week, and temperatures starting to take a climb up by the time Friday rolls around, and we'll be up to about 83 degrees.
Sounds like the cool down is on, though.
It is. It's going to be a great week out there. You'll be wearing sweaters tomorrow night.
And blankets, taking out the blankets.
Take out the blankets.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Up next in sports, find out how your favorite football team did or is doing today.
Plus, find out if there's been any tightening in the baseball pennant races or in the Winston Cup points race. Sports is next.
Introducing Hands-Free, the no-hands hairdryer from Windermere. Hands-Free lets you use both hands to help style and shape while you're drying your hair. And you can use it hands-on for perfect diffuse drying action. Great for pets, too. Hands-Free, the no-hands hairdryer by Windermere. Available at Revco.
Real stories from a real year-end clearance. I save $1,300.
On my Camry.
Save on Camry, the most trouble-free compact in America.
I saved $1,300 on my Corolla.
Save on Corolla, the most trouble-free subcompact in America. Save on every reliable, fuel-efficient Toyota, even Celica during this year-end clearance.
I saved $1,500 on my new Celica.
Your wait is over. Toyota's year-end clearance is here. Don't miss it.
Shoney's apple pie, it's even better than Mom's. Well, just as good as Mom's.
Well, then why don't you get Shoney's to tuck you night-night?
Okay, it's nowhere near as good as Mom's. Ma! Okay, Patty, and you. For the grand prize, which restaurant sells great shrimp at a great price?
It's Shoney's.
Shoney's is right!
Hey, so you're older than I am. So what? I think we look great together. You're exactly what I need. Sure, my friends think you're old-fashioned, but what do they know? Okay, maybe you used to be, but you're not anymore.
Proehl is milder than you remember, and there's a conditioner. Both rinse so clean your hair is left naturally fuller.
I think you and I got a lot of good years ahead of us. This is the start of something beautiful.
Another racing day. The boys are at Dover today.
What about this Winston Cup points race? How are we doing on that?
Well, it's nice and close, and it's still nice and close. We'll show you what happened today. Race number 23 on the 29 event Winston Cup schedule. Back at Dover for the Monster Mile. Derek Cope won Dover last time around. And in case you haven't noticed, there's a points race going on. Bill Elliott on the pole. He had the Coors Ford Thunderbird in the lead the first 50 laps. But Dale Earnhardt, looking to take over the top spot in the points race, takes the lead from Elliott right there. They would jockey for the lead much of the afternoon. Then 150 laps in from inside Ernie Irvin's car. Ernie's going to need a little sheet metal work. After that little bump, he goes behind the wall for repairs to the Kodak car. Mark Martin cuts a tire at the halfway mark. That sends him into the pits for an unscheduled stop. But just 75 laps later, Martin pilots the Folgers Ford into the lead as Dale takes a green flag stop. Martin's lead does not last, though. He makes the green flag stop himself. That allows Elliott to retake the lead, and Bill guides the number 9 car home. He takes the checkered flag for the first time this season, his 4th career win at the Monster Mile.
We came here, we were kind of shot in the bucket. This is a new cat type banjo car, you know, and we just kind of made a stab at it, and we guessed this morning of what we're going to do chassis-wise, and I guess we guessed pretty close.
Yeah, that old banjo-type car did it for Bill. He was followed by Martin and Earnhardt, 2 and 3. That means Mark gains 5 on Dale and now leads him by 21. Harry Gant was 4th, Michael Waltrip 5th, 6 through 10, Dale Jarrett, Rusty Wallace, Kyle Petty, Davey Allison, and Kenny Schrader. Week 2 of the NFL schedule and the 144th renewal of the rivalry between Green Bay's Packers and Chicago's Bears kicks us off to historic Lambeau Field, where Anthony Dilweg started in place of Dan Mikowski again, but it was a long day for A.D. He found himself on his butt 6 times. That sack courtesy of Richard Dent. And turnovers put a dent in Green Bay. Jim Harbaugh takes advantage of a Packer fumble as he hits Ron Morris streaking down the near sideline. Morris goes 40. The final from Green Bay, Bears 31, Packers 13. Ricky Proehl's second game in the NFL proved fruitful for both him and his Phoenix Cardinals. First quarter, Ricky, a big 26-yard catch on 3rd and 12, number 87. 72 yards on 4 catches this afternoon, proving every week he belongs in the NFL. Down 14-0, then 14-7, but here in the third, Cards tie it. Tim Rosenbach couldn't stand up, but Anthony Thompson could just long enough. It was 21-20 Philly with less than 30 seconds left when Al Del Greco bangs home this 42-yard field goal, and just watch Joe Bugle. He wasn't too happy, was he? Jumps for joy as Phoenix stuns Philly 23-21. At the Silverdome, the Red Gun offense met the run and shoot. Second quarter, oh, look at this. It's New England and Indianapolis. That's Steve Grogan to Hartley Dykes for the touchdown. Yikes, Dykes. Nice move. The young man, Jeff George, another rough Sunday for him. Picked off 4 times, including this one by Ronnie Lepet, as New England wins it 16-14. To the scoreboard, let's go, where we find the Redskins trailing San Francisco 20-13 in the third. Rams lead Tampa Bay 35-14, that one in the third. Giants 21-7 over Dallas, also in the third. And also in the third, Minnesota 18, New Orleans 3. In the AFC, the big game was in the East, where Buffalo visited the Dolphins in Miami. To Joe Robbie Stadium we go. Pick it up, fourth quarter in the battle of quarterbacks. This one won by Dan Marino. He hit Tony Page for the touchdown right here. The Dolphins 2-0 for the first time since 1984. The final from Miami, Dolphins 30 and the Bills 7. Elsewhere, here are the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons. There's the Red Gun offense working. Chris Miller to Andre Rison. Wayne Font says, I think we got to get that run and shoot cooking, boys and girls, and that's just what the Lions do. Rodney Peete on the rollout. Quick pitch to Richard Johnson from 5 yards out. The run and shoot beats the Red Gun 21-14. Elsewhere around the NFL, Cleveland 24, nope, Jets 24, and Cleveland 21. Jets beat the Browns. Raiders and Seattle all deadlocked at 3. San Diego leading the Bengals at the half, and Houston and Pittsburgh go tonight. Now baseball in the pennant races. There are 3 now, the closest NL East, where the Pirates lead us down to 1/2 game over the Mets. Pittsburgh trying to end the Expos' hex. Let's pick it up, bottom of the 7th. Tim Raines, the grounder to first. Gary Reedus throws it way wide, not even close. 2 more Expos score as the Expos win it. The final from Olympic Stadium was 4-1 over the Pirates. Meantime, it's Shea, top of the 2nd. Darren Dalton makes it 3 career hits off David Cone, all home runs. The big blow as the Mets fail to pick up ground on the Bucks. The final from New York, Phillies 8 and the Mets 3. In the West, the Dodgers trying to close to within 3.5 of the Reds, but tied 5-all in the 5th. Billy Doran, what a pickup he's been. The liner to center, misjudged by Stan Javier. 2 runs come in to score, and the Reds go on to win it 9-5. Cincy's lead is now back to 5.5. In the American League, Boston's lead over Toronto is down to 2. The Jays host Baltimore tonight, but the Red Sox were trying to avoid a sweep in Chicago, but not playing like it. Sammy Sosa, the blooper to right. Tom Bernansky tries to get Sosa going into second. And while he does, Ron Karkovice just keeps on running. Randy Kutcher's throw, safe. Bobby Thigpen picks up his 51st save as the White Sox win 4-2. Boston's lead is down to 1.5. Now for a little change of pace, some college soccer. ACC rivals Clemson and Wake Forest. To the Deacs Campus Stadium we go. Both teams ranked, and a beautiful day for soccer as the Tigers were in for a visit. Clemson on the board first off the indirect kick. Tormey shot partially blocked. but James Glenn there for the rebound. Past Matt Olson, 1-0 Tigers. Less than 3 minutes later, the Deeks tie it. Ramo DeVries picks up the deflection and boots it home. It was 1-1, but the Deacon fans would go home disappointed. 38-minute mark, Thomas Najjar picks it and kicks it. Clemson takes a 2-1 lead. Glenn, the freshman, would add another goal to the final. It's Clemson 3, Wake Forest 1 sports final tonight.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Well, straight ahead, a bird's eye view of the agricultural fair.
More time isn't an option. They need answers fast.
Southern Bell can provide hospitals with complete voice and data networks, backed by our proven support and service. Equipped with backup power and monitored 24 hours a day. We put vital information into the right hands in a heartbeat, so they can provide the best possible care. If we can handle the critical needs of a hospital, imagine what we can do for your business.
Southern Bell, the one to turn to.
Lights, camera, action. It's Circuit City's National Video Sale. Every RCA color TV is on sale now, like this 20-inch set with stereo sound. Now just $277.97. And every VCR is on sale now, like this deluxe Sharp with easy programming by remote. Now a low $199.97. Hurry into the National Video Sale, going on now at Circuit City, where service is state-of-the-art.
On race day, if you're not ready, they're not going to wait for you. And for me, getting ready begins with new Exxon Superflow. It's twice as effective against engine wear as leading motor oils. Because on those grueling, thundering afternoons, I want all the engine protection I can get. New Exxon Superflow. It's twice as effective.
The 91st Annual Ag Fair is in town this weekend. Deborah Proehl brings us some of the fun.
The parking lot of the Greensboro Coliseum is transformed into a playland. The fair is in town, and moms, dads, and their children are taking in the fun.
Fun to watch your children having fun and enjoying the same things you did when you were a child.
There are more than 80 attractions at the agricultural fair, and while most kids had a ball on the rides, some didn't think they were much fun at all. The petting zoo is a popular place. For only a quarter, you can buy a handful of treats and feed the animals.
Their teeth feel weird when they just scrape against your hand, and their tongue is weird. I can't explain how it feels.
Little Matthew had a hard time putting his thoughts into words, but it was obvious this was one of his favorite places. If the rides and animals don't entice you, there's plenty of other things to do. The fair will be in town for another week. Deborah Proehl, Newswatch 12, Greensboro.
Another fair is coming up in October, Dixie Classic Fair.
Oh, that's right. Wonderful. You know who was at that thing today? I think the guy from Ninja Turtles.
That must have been a lot of fun. That's it for us. I'm Margaret Johnson.
And I'm Frank Buckley. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at 11. Make it a good evening.
It's 1990 model clean sweep sale time at Modern Nissan, Carolina's largest volume Nissan dealer. Choose from over 200 new Nissans, every one year-end sale price, like Sentras from just $64.90, hardbody pickups from just $64.24, Stanza XEs from a low $94.40, and hardbody 4x4s only $89.90. You can't beat the value, price, or selection you'll find at Modern Nissan. That's why we say,
You want wheels, Hot Wheels, you get them from Modern Nissan.
Push it, click it, press it, flick it, tune it in, turn it on. This is what you watch it on. Any way you work it, integrate your circuit at the city. Circuit City. Come to the place you welcome.
Circuit City, we get higher customer satisfaction ratings than any other specialty home electronics and appliance chain.
Circuit City, where service is state-of-the-art.
Lights. So, to show you how sales are doing, I've prepared...
You never know what the day will bring, but the unexpected's a real sure thing.
When your body responds to sudden stress, Sure responds on demand.
Lights.
Sure's on-demand formula helps keep you dry.
Isn't it better to talk face-to-face? Schedule in January.
Raise your hand.
Sales peaked in April. Nice job.
You're more sure.
Only 8 days to McMillions on WXII.
In Baghdad, President Bush speaks to the Iraqis on television. He tells them, get out of Kuwait. But many Iraqis don't like the message. In Denver, a 20-month-old boy is rescued from a construction shaft after workers dig all night to free him. And tonight, priests and the sexual abuse of children. Several cases have been reported. How widespread is it?
This is NBC Nightly News, reported tonight by Garrick Utley.
Good evening. If you were living in Iraq and watching television this evening, you would have seen something highly unusual. The President of the United States speaking to you. The Bush statement was pre-recorded in Washington and sent to Baghdad, where the state-controlled television broadcasted. It lasted about 9 minutes. And when it was over, a government commentator attacked the message and the messenger. Tom Aspel watched it all in Baghdad. His report had to be submitted to Iraqi censorship.
Even in better times, it would have been impossible to have an American president speak directly to the Iraqi people on television. But tonight, George Bush appeared on prime time nationwide. With a simultaneous translation and an Arabic text below, George Bush said that the United States had no quarrel with the Iraqi people, only with Saddam Hussein. That Saddam Hussein must withdraw his troops from Kuwait, that America is doing its best to resolve the Gulf crisis peacefully, and that sanctions have been imposed on Iraq as the best means short of war of achieving a total pullback from Kuwaiti territory. We want to avoid war. War is the last option, said the president. Towards the end of the address, Mr. Bush quoted directly from a speech Saddam Hussein himself delivered in 1988, in which the Iraqi leader said that any Arab state invading another Arab state should be punished by all other Arabs. Immediately afterwards, Muqtada Mohammad Murad, who usually reads announcements from Saddam Hussein on television, refuted the points President Bush had made. The American leader, he said, had a personal desire to become dictator of the whole world. President Bush's words were falling on deaf ears. These people here weren't even allowed to watch it on TV, at least not in public. Immediate comment from some Iraqis on the streets of Baghdad was predictable.
I'm sure everything Mr. Bush, when he speaks, he lies.
He's a big liar. He thinks that we believe him, but we refuse what he said.
Well, we are always with Saddam Hussein. Whatever he says, we obey him.
Demonstrations had begun before George Bush finished speaking. They were anti-American, pro-Saddam Hussein, part of the predictable reaction here.
Any other reaction here would, of course, have been out of the question. The country is fully behind everything Saddam Hussein says, does, or wants to do. It's been that way since he came to power. Tom Aspel, NBC News, Baghdad.
The White House has had no reaction to Iraqi criticism in reaction to the president's speech. The president returned to the White House this afternoon from Camp David. Bush thought that it was a good idea to be able to speak directly to the Iraqi people, but as far as we know, there are no speeches. There are a number of other